Hello everybody. I want to invite you to watch a little bit more of Sable's and my journey together as we're trying to, overcome some of the issues that she has, some of the resistance and some of the anticipation that have to do probably with some kind of negative associations in terms of her willingness to move forward freely off of a fairly friendly leg, as you may have seen me watch in some of my previous videos. But we're always doing the same thing at this stage. We're starting with our lunging warm-up. She knows her voice commands, and she's actually doing better with the canters too. Canter to the left and to the right, which, have been a little bit of a problem because there was so much tension in her body. But so now we're at a point where we want to say, okay, we're walking together. The walking is actually better than it was just a few days ago. And she's actually stretching forward, downward, but there's still quite a bit of the occasional tail swishing. And today, I have to say, we have a little bit of a cooler, more gray day, and we don't have flies really that I could say are causing her to, swish back and forth. I think it has to do definitely with my lower legs starting to come on and off with a little bit more of a vibrational heightened frequency, if you want to put it that way, or if I want to put it that way. And I also, as you can see, I'm in shoulder to shoulder mode as I have been before, and I'm riding larger figures and shapes with her right now. I feel like the smaller circles are in the beginning for when there's a lot more, stopping and, trying to figure out if she really has to go. But right now, at least we're in a somewhat reasonable, even slow, regular rhythm. She's relaxing, she's stretching forward, downward. And I only enhance my lower left, right leg aids with my shoulders all the time, of course, but also with a little bit of my whips every once in a while, just the daintiest little tab onto her haunches, just so that she connects my leg with that body part of herself that I want to be active. And that is the hind end. Those are the hind legs, of course, right? And so you can see she comes in and out of, being okay with this. And then the head comes up for a moment. And then it's like, oh, really? We still have to do this? And I would love for her not to think of it as have to. More, I would love for it to be an invitation. A little bit of a, persistent invitation, because we're not going to stop after a few steps. But, if I can get her to go relaxed around here for a little while like this, I'm actually quite happy with that. My next step would be to actually caterpillar up a little bit on the reins and stay in my shoulder to shoulder mode. And I can feel immediately there's a little bit of nervous clucking in her mouth. The tail is swishing. She's not overly happy, and I can almost see it and feel it in her whole body. You can see it too, right? How she becomes slower and slower. And then she's thinking, oh, can I still stretch? And I want to stay elastic with my hands, but I also need to have her kind of go into a little bit more of a working frame so that I can start inviting her to go into a trot for just a few steps, which I will try in just a few moments, even though we're here far from, in an ideal situation in the what will eventually hopefully become a medium walk. But right now it's as good as it gets, and I feel like I can't just, go round and round and try for her to come out of her shell when she is clearly just holding herself in this a little bit, sort of, I want to say, like a shell or a capsule, where she feels like, okay, hopefully it won't get much worse. And it was a little bit like that on the lunge line in the early stages too. And so I'm just going to go onto a smaller circle here. And I'm just going to tab a tiny little bit more here with my inside leg and say, come on, let's keep moving. And you could see in that, I don't know if you could see that, but there's a little bit of a nervous snapping in her mouth when I do that. And so I'm going to say to her, let's breathe and relax and stand here for a moment, rather than me nagging and getting into that point where I, come on. I'm going to let her breathe. I'm going to let myself breathe. And that's probably something that's a little bit counterintuitive. Oh, look at that. And there was a beautiful little big breath out, almost like a sigh. And I'm just going to sit here and pet her for a moment. And then we're going to start over again in a second. And I feel like I want to just take her to the right here for a little bit of a change of direction. But, you know, as you can see, there is, even in that lower long rein frame of hers, there's still not a ton of real true relaxation going through her whole body. Now walk is very, very sort of tentative, and as I always say, it feels like stick legs underneath me, not a ton of real rolling motion. Now I'm going to go back and forth a little bit with a little bit of rein contact. As you can see, I'm slowly caterpillaring up. And I'm just going to try this again. And I can feel how she's like, oh, let's just see about this, right? And there's a little bit of a halting again. Okay, I'm not going to let her do that. I'm going to go in a circle. And I can sort of almost feel a little bit of a standoff coming on here. And I have to be sort of prepared a little bit what to do, because very soon, even my little maneuver going to the left or to the right might not do it, might not do the trick. You know, just like she's done this with me on the ground, where every once in a while she'll just say a complete no to me. It won't go forward, and we'll try all kinds of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let her see my right arm and my right whip as I am rhythmically coming on with that whip. And I don't know if you can tell, but she definitely pays attention to that. Right? I do not want to compromise my lower leg. So it's almost like every time my right shoulder and her right shoulder comes back, she can see how this whip is coming. And it's not at all with any kind of zest or zing or anything. It is really just touching her as if I'm patting somebody gently onto the shoulder to get their attention. But it gets her attention too. And that is what I want right now, right? And you can see how she's like, oh, what is going on here, right? So then I'm going to change directions. I'm going to do it to the other side, you know, and I'm going to just hold my reins in my right hand, take my left hand up, and let her see this rhythmic motion. And it's almost like just a very gentle little tab. And because I don't want to, you know, get into this rut with her where I feel like, oh, well, I'm going to get more urgent with my legs, and sooner or later I, you know, will feel tempted to really clonk on her with my legs, which is what a lot of people are teaching, and that's exactly the wrong thing, because when you clonk, when you take both legs off and go clonk on like this, your horse will contract and not come out of their shell, as I always say. They will contract, and this is a much better walk here already right now, right? And I just continue with this little bit of a whip going in. There you go. There's a little bit of a stretch. That's fine. And then I may lower my hand a little bit and just let my arm drop down, as you can see right now. And there is still a little bit of an on and off. Every time my left shoulder goes back and her left shoulder goes back, my whip goes on. And so we're going to just maneuver around here for a moment like this until I feel like there's a little bit more of a, you know, an agreement coming from her side. And then I'm going to go back to shoulder, and both whips and both legs go very gently on left, right. And since we're in a good place right now, I'm going to see if I can get her, coax her into a few steps of even the next gate up. And we will see how that goes. Come on, good girl. Come. So good girl. That's all I wanted. A few steps of trot. You could tell the tail is definitely swishing. I'm going to go again, do that again. Yeah, stopping again. Not sure if, you know, she's really allowed to stay in this fairly comfortable setting. Come, so it's good. There you go. Very good girl. So as you can tell, I'm leaving the reins very long and comfortable for her. I'm just going to go in and out of trot every few steps. Good girl, zaw, zaw, tail swishing, no big deal. Very good. Zaw, come, come, come. Zaw, 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 a little bit longer. Zaw. I'm going to go to the other side. Good. Bagheera, out. Out. Of course, my dog wants to help. I'm going to try and go into a little bit of posting trot here. Just to see if we can. And that actually doesn't feel all that bad to me and to her, apparently. Good. Come, come, come. We're still going in and out a little bit like a caterpillar. A few steps fluid. A few steps a little bit stagnant. And she's looking around for a moment. No big deal. Then she's charging a little bit. Okay, good girl. So I'm going to let her have a little bit of a walk here. And I'm actually quite happy that we got this far to this side. I'm going to go and switch directions and come back to this here for a moment, in a moment. So, good girl. And this time I'm going to go right into posting trot. It's sort of, I follow my intuition a little bit. I'm just going to go with what feels best to her. The sitting trot, some horses feels better because you're with them all the time. And then other times, this horse seems to enjoy right now the posting trot. And she's going in and out, and a little tail swoosh, and a little bit of a slowing down again. And then I'm going to go let her have that and say, that's very, very nice of you, Sable. Really, really good. Very, very nice. And that's what I'm going to leave it at, where I'm going to leave it at for today, because this is a lot more than what we got yesterday. Yesterday was the first time when I was testing the waters a little bit with her, and yesterday we got a lot more no's, and today I got quite a bit more of a yes, and even so much so that we could go into the posting trot. So little by little we're getting there. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to just hand walk her for a moment and say thank you. Good girl, Sable. We're going to get this done. Thanks for watching and happy riding. Good girl.